Have you ever found yourself wondering, why does he come on so strong at first, only to pull away when I start to care? It's a heartbreakingly common pattern: the magnetic beginning, the fire in his eyes, the texts that light up your phone. The chemistry is undeniable. You feel chosen, seen, even adored, and then slowly or suddenly, something shifts. He starts to fade, and you're left in the confusion, the ache, and the self-questioning spiral. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Was it all just lust? Sweetheart, I want you to take a deep breath with me. Right now. Let that exhale soften the tension in your chest. Because this isn't about your worth. It's about understanding how men work emotionally and how we, as women, often misread their early intensity as a sign of real love. There's a truth I need you to hear. One that may sting a little at first, but will ultimately set you free. Men lust first. They feel physical attraction fast, but emotional love, that comes later, slowly. Through time, through trust, through consistency. And when we mistake lust for love, when we rush into emotional availability just because he's pursuing us hard, we often end up bonding before we've even seen who he truly is. I see this all the time with high-achieving, deeply feeling women. You're used to showing up fully. You love deeply. You're loyal, generous, and ready for the real thing. But sometimes that beautiful heart of yours leaps ahead before the relationship has a foundation to hold it. And here's the cost. You give your emotional energy to a man who hasn't earned it. You get invested before he's proven his intentions. You fall into the fantasy instead of anchoring in reality. But love, real love, can't be rushed. And once you understand the emotional timeline of a man, you gain a powerful advantage. You stop overgiving and start observing. You stop chasing the feeling and start choosing alignment. Today, I want to help you shift to step into your feminine power, to awaken the part of you that knows how to receive, not just react. Let's talk about the truth of how men connect and how you can stop getting caught in the cycle of intensity, confusion, and pain. She told me, Megan, I've never felt chemistry like that before. He looked at me like I was the only woman in the world, and I thought, this has to be something real. Let's call her Lauren. She's brilliant, successful, kind, the type of woman who doesn't just light up a room, she holds it with grace. And when this man came in fast, with compliments, daily texts, weekend plans, she thought she'd finally met someone who saw her. But here's what happened. Within 2 weeks, they were emotionally entangled. Long calls, deep conversations, a first kiss that melted her. They even talked about a possible future. But by week 4, his tone started to shift. His texts slowed. His eyes didn't linger the same way. And when she gently asked, is something wrong? He told her, I'm just not sure I'm ready for something serious. She was stunned, heartbroken, confused, because for her that early spark felt like love. But for him, it was lust. Here's the truth I need you to hear. A man's body can feel desire in an instant, but his heart opens slowly through a process of emotional alignment, time, and real-life experience. Men are wired differently. Lust, that fiery pull of chemistry, attraction, wanting, it's fast, it's instinctual. But love is a choice, a practice, an unfolding, and that takes time. When a man is first drawn to you, he may be captivated by your beauty, your energy, your radiance, and that's wonderful. That's part of what draws him near. But it does not mean he's emotionally available, or that he knows how to build something lasting, or even that he understands why he's so drawn to you. So many high-achieving women confuse the pace of chemistry with the pace of emotional safety. Have you ever found yourself doing this? Feeling so much so fast, and assuming he must be feeling the same way. It's not your fault. You're built to bond. Women's hormones are emotional openness, our intuitive desire to connect, It can all make it easy to believe that early attention equals true connection. But here's your power shift. Just because a man is moving fast doesn't mean you have to. You get to set the pace. You get to observe. You get to receive, not just respond. This is where your feminine power comes in your ability to lean back, stay open, and allow him to show you not just his attraction, but his character. Ask yourself, is this man truly interested in who I am beneath the surface? Is he consistent when he's not trying to impress me? Do his actions match his words over time? Love is revealed in the slow moments, in the follow-through, in how he shows up when things aren't effortless. So, if you've ever felt blindsided by a man who seemed all in, only to pull away, I want you to know, you didn't misread his desire. You simply mistook lust for love. And now you get to shift. You get to stop handing out your heart to every man who turns up the heat. You get to invite love on your timeline with standards, with patience, and with a kind of self-worth that doesn't flinch in the face of chemistry. Love isn't a spark. It's a fire that needs to be tended. Let him show up for that. She said to me through tears, Megan, he planned a whole weekend for us. He introduced me to his friends. He told me I was different. How could he disappear just like that? That question is devastating because it doesn't just hurt. It shakes your sense of reality. I want you to hear this gently but clearly. A man's early intensity is not a promise. It's an impulse. And if he hasn't done the emotional work to back it up with consistency, it will fade, no matter how magical those first few weeks felt. As women, we're taught to look for signs. Is he texting? Is he planning dates? Is he saying the right things? And yes, those things do matter, but they are not the whole story. What matters more is how he moves when the novelty wears off. How he shows up when he's not in pursuit mode. What he does when you don't immediately say yes, when you take your time, when you express a need, when you have a boundary. Because here's the truth. Any man can show up strong in the beginning, but not every man can sustain. Not every man has the emotional structure to hold intimacy. Not every man can handle the light of a woman who truly knows herself. And too often, high-achieving women ignore the signs that a man is leading with performance instead of presence because the early energy feels so good, so validating, so full of potential. But we have to learn to slow down our hearts and watch what's real. I want to ask you something. Have you ever gotten swept up in a man's energy only to later realize you didn't really know who he was? That's because intensity is a spotlight. It can blind us to the red flags. It makes us want to believe. And that desire to believe, especially when we've been waiting for love for so long, can make us skip over the most important part of dating: discernment. You are not here to be impressed. You are not here to be chosen in a rush of dopamine and declarations. You are here to receive devotion. Devotion that reveals itself slowly, through consistent effort, through care, through integrity. And here's the powerful shift. You get to set the pace that honors your heart. Instead of bonding in the fantasy, bond in reality. Take your time. Let him show you not just who he is at his best, but who he is on a regular Tuesday when life is quiet. That's where commitment is born. In the ordinary, not just the extraordinary. And if you're nodding right now, if something in you knows this has been your pattern, then this is your moment to interrupt it. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to observe. You are allowed to ask yourself, is this consistent or just exciting? Is he emotionally grounded or just emotionally expressive? Am I moving from alignment or from a craving to feel chosen? And I want to say this softly but directly. If this resonates, subscribe and stay close. We're just getting started. This space is here to help you reclaim your power in love, one heart-centered truth at a time. The more you honor your own pacing, the more you make space for a man who is actually ready, not just to chase, but to cherish. I remember a client, let's call her Camille, who said something that broke my heart a little. She told me, Megan, I did everything right. I showed up for him. I planned thoughtful dates, sent him good morning messages, helped him through a tough time with work, and I don't get it. He still drifted. And I asked her a simple question. Sweetheart, when did it become your job to prove you were worthy of being kept? She paused, then her voice cracked. I guess I thought if I gave more, he'd stay. So many high-achieving women carry this invisible script. If I do more, love will come. And where does that come from? It comes from being praised for our performance, from success being tied to effort, from believing that value equals. So we apply the same logic to love, and we end up exhausted, resentful, and confused when all that giving doesn't turn into lasting commitment. But here's the truth I want you to let into your heart. Your feminine energy is not here to perform. It's here to receive. You were not made to earn love through effort. You were made to invite love through presence, magnetism, aliveness, wholeness. When you lead with doing, planning, fixing, proving, you step into your masculine energy. And what often happens in heterosexual dynamics is this: the more you lean in, the more he leans back. Because energetically, you're chasing. Even if it looks helpful, even if it feels generous, even if your intention is to connect. But here's the shift. A high-value man doesn't need to be managed, inspired, or convinced. He wants to lead, and he wants a woman who knows how to receive his leadership. This doesn't mean being passive or pretending to be someone you're not. It means allowing space for him to invest, initiate, and move things forward so you can stay in your feminine flow, observing and responding from a grounded place. Ask yourself honestly, am I over-functioning in this connection? Am I stepping in where I could be leaning back? Am I afraid he'll lose interest if I stop trying so hard? Because here's the secret. A man who loses interest when you stop overgiving was never interested in you. He was interested in what he could get from you. True feminine power doesn't hustle for love. It trusts its own value. It knows that the right man will see you and move toward you, not just for your efforts, but for your essence. And when you reclaim that energy, when you soften into receptivity without collapsing your standards, everything changes. Camille made that shift. She started letting men lead. She stopped preemptively texting or solving or proving. She practiced sitting in the discomfort of silence without reaching to fill it. And the men who weren't serious, they vanished. But the man who was, he leaned in deeper. He made plans. He followed up. He asked about exclusivity because her space invited him to rise. So if you've ever felt like love is a performance, like you have to do to be chosen, I want you to know there's another way. You are not a product. You are not a resume. You are a whole, radiant woman whose beingness is enough. Let the right man earn your heart, not through pressure, but through presence.
He said all the right things.
He told her he hadn't felt this way in a long time, that she was different, that he wanted something real. But when she opened up about her feelings, when she asked for clarity about where things were headed, he froze. He didn't get angry. He didn't disappear right away. He just pulled back, became vague, less responsive, suddenly too busy. She told me, Megan, I don't understand. He said he was ready. He said he wanted something real. And I gently said to her what I'm going to say to you now. Saying the right words doesn't mean he has the emotional maturity to follow through. So many women get caught in the illusion of availability. The man who's charming, expressive, emotionally open on the surface. But when intimacy starts to deepen, something inside him panics, shuts down, backs away. And it's not because you asked for too much. It's not because you were too intense. It's not because you misread the vibe. It's because emotional availability requires emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is earned through healing, through self-awareness, through doing the work. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. You cannot inspire a man to become emotionally available. You cannot love him into readiness. You cannot fix his fears by being less of yourself. When a man has not done the inner work, when he hasn't learned how to sit with discomfort, communicate with clarity, and stay present when it matters, no amount of chemistry will make him capable of true connection. You'll know he's emotionally immature. He disappears or deflects when things get emotionally real. He avoids accountability for how his actions affect you. He's great in the highs, but unavailable in the lows. He idealizes the beginning, but resists the next layer of depth. And here's where many high-achieving women get stuck in their potential detector. You see who he could be. You sense the depth that's possible. You feel the connection, and you start to believe that with the right love, maybe he'll grow into it. But that keeps you hooked. Waiting, hoping, investing in possibility, not reality. I want to invite you into something higher. Only emotionally mature men deserve your emotional intimacy. Not just the men who charm you, but the men who choose you with consistency, who communicate even when it's hard, who don't make you guess or shrink or settle. Your job isn't to fix or figure him out. Your job is to observe.
Is he grounded?
Is he available in both word and action? Does he respond with care when you express a need? That's where emotional safety lives. One of my clients, Tara, used to fall for emotionally expressive men who lacked stability, men who loved the early highs, the deep talks, the soul connections, but vanished when she asked for real support. When she finally said, "No more fantasy, I only invest in what's real," everything changed. She began to attract men who showed up. Men who didn't just talk about partnership. They embodied it. And that shift started with her choosing to be emotionally available to herself by honoring her boundaries, her needs, her pace. So if this is landing for you, share this with another high-achieving woman who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the most loving thing we can do is remind each other. We don't have to earn love by enduring emotional chaos. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to say no to potential. You are allowed to wait for the man who's ready now. She said to me, "Megan, I didn't want to seem difficult. I thought if I brought it up, he'd leave. So I stayed quiet, and now I don't even recognize myself in this relationship." And I looked at her with all the love and truth I could offer and said, "You didn't lose him by having a boundary. You lost yourself by abandoning one." This is where so many brilliant, high-achieving women fall, not from weakness, but from love. From the longing to make it work, from the desire to be chosen, from the ache to finally be met. And in that longing, they start to shrink, to stretch, to justify, to become easier, more agreeable, more accommodating, just to hold on to a connection that's already taking more than it's giving. But here's the truth. Boundaries are not walls that keep love out. They are the gates that protect your heart from what isn't love. A boundary is not a punishment. It's not an ultimatum. It's not control. It's an act of self-honoring, a declaration that says, "This is how I deserve to be treated. This is what I need to feel safe, seen, and sacred in love." And the right man, the one who is grounded, available, and emotionally mature, won't be scared off by your boundary. He will be drawn to it because it tells him you value yourself enough to protect your peace, and that tells him how to value you too. Ask yourself gently, where am I betraying my own needs to keep someone else comfortable? What truth have I been swallowing to avoid rocking the boat? What am I teaching him about how I expect to be treated by what I tolerate? One of my clients, Marisa, kept letting a man come in and out of her life on his timeline. He'd disappear for weeks, then text like nothing happened. He'd give just enough to keep her hooked, but never enough to create real safety. She was scared to speak up, afraid he'd walk away, until one day she realized, I'm more afraid of losing myself than I am of losing him. So she told him, I'm looking for consistency and emotional safety. If you can't offer that, I wish you well, but I won't be available for this anymore. And he didn't rise. He disappeared. And it hurt. Of course it did. But what happened next? She felt her power come back. She felt her clarity return, and she made space finally, for someone capable of loving her at her level. Because when you set a boundary, you're not just protecting your heart, you're calling in someone who knows how to hold it. That's the thing about high quality love. It won't demand that you shrink to be kept. It will invite you to expand. And your boundaries are part of that expansion. You get to say, I don't accept breadcrumb communication. I don't give exclusivity without consistency. I don't chase. I don't guess. I don't perform. And if he walks when you speak your truth, good. That's not your man. That's your clarity. Boundaries reveal character. They sift out the men who are only there for the thrill and create room for the ones who are ready for the real. So ask yourself, what standard have I been afraid to hold? And what might open up if I chose to hold it now? She was smart, successful, deeply loving, the kind of woman who brings warmth into any room. And yet, every time she started seeing someone new, she found herself slowly shrinking. She'd overlook inconsistencies, excuse poor communication, convince herself he just needed a little time or better support. And when we dug deeper, she admitted it with tears in her eyes. Megan, I'm tired of being the one who reaches. I always end up carrying the emotional weight, hoping he'll catch up. If you've ever felt this, like you're always the one leaning in, the one doing the emotional lifting, I want you to know you were never meant to reach down to be met in love. You were meant to stand in your fullness and be met there. But so often, high-achieving women end up dating down emotionally, not because they don't deserve more, but because they've gotten used to doing too much. They're used to being the competent one, the fixer, the helper, the anchor. And they end up attracted to men who need them rather than men who can match them. It feels purposeful at first, but in reality, it's a trauma bond in disguise, a dynamic built on imbalance where you're always the one bridging the gap. Here's what I need you to know, love. A man who is truly ready for you will rise to meet you. He won't make you question your worth. He won't need you to lower your needs to keep his comfort. He won't disappear when you express a truth that scares him. Instead, he'll lean in. He'll adjust. He'll choose to grow because he sees your value and he respects himself enough to match it. But you won't recognize that man if you're still busy trying to pull someone else up. You don't need to date men who are almost there. You don't need to prove you're worthy of being prioritized. You don't need to tolerate potential just to avoid being alone. You are the prize. You are the invitation. And the right man won't need convincing. He'll be ready. That means he has done the work. He has faced his fears. He knows how to communicate, regulate, and co-create a relationship that feels secure. And your job is to let go of anything that pulls you out of your power. That includes men who ghost and return, men who breadcrumb with just enough to keep you hoping, men who treat your vulnerability like an inconvenience. Because love is not meant to feel like labor. Yes, it requires effort, but not chasing, not managing, not over-functioning. One of my clients, Danielle, used to overinvest in men she had to constantly coach emotionally. She'd stay up analyzing texts, wondering if she was too much, worrying that if she just said it better, he'd finally get it. Until one day, she asked herself, why am I working so hard just to feel seen? That was her turning point. She stopped pouring into men who weren't showing up. She raised her standard from connection to consistency. And not long after, she met a man who, for the first time, didn't make her feel like love had to be earned. He just showed up steadily, clearly, openly, because she stopped reaching down and let herself be met. So I want to leave you with this. If you've been the one always reaching, always stretching, always making it work, it's time to stand still. Let the man who is ready rise. Let the rest fall away. You don't need to become less. You don't need to wait for someone to catch up. You don't need to chase love. You are already enough. And from this place, everything changes. So here you are. Maybe your heart has been bruised by men who came in hot and left cold. Men who said all the right things but vanished when it was time to be the right thing. Men who desired you but didn't see you, not really, not deeply. And maybe somewhere along the way you started to wonder if that was just the way it is. But I want to leave you with a deeper truth. Yes, men lust first, but that doesn't mean you have to settle for being the spark that fades. You get to be the woman who is chosen, not just chased, the woman who is kept, not just desired, the woman who is loved, not because she overgave, but because she stood in her truth and let love come find her there. Because lust is quick. Love is steady. Lust wants to consume. Love wants to commit. Lust wants access to your body. Love wants to hold your soul. And if you've been confusing one for the other, don't blame yourself. This is the conditioning we've all received, to believe that our value comes from being pleasing, pliable, and pursued. But you are not here to be consumed. You are here to be cherished. So I want to ask you, with all the love in my heart, where have you been mistaking intensity for intimacy? Where have you been confusing effort with worth? Where have you been tolerating lust, hoping it will one day evolve into love? Because the truth is, it doesn't. Lust doesn't grow up. People do. And the man who's ready for you, he won't just feel chemistry. He'll bring capacity. He won't just initiate, he'll invest. He won't just desire you, he'll decide for you. But you can't meet that kind of man until you become the woman who no longer entertains anything less. So here's what I invite you into today. Hold your boundaries like they are sacred. Receive instead of perform. Say no to potential and yes to reality. Stop trying to inspire a man to become more and start aligning with the man who already is. Because when you embody your feminine worth, calmly, clearly, unapologetically, you don't have to chase anything. You sit in your wholeness, you speak your truth, and you let him rise. Let the ones who only bring lust, let them weed themselves out by the standards you hold. Let them feel the power of a woman who refuses to shrink to be desired. And when you do, you make room for the one who brings love. Lasting, grounded, masculine love. Love that doesn't confuse you, doesn't delay, doesn't disappear. So if this message stirred something in your heart, stay close. Because this is just the beginning of you becoming her. The woman who leads with essence, not effort. The woman who no longer waits to be chosen because she's already chosen herself. Drop a comment below. What are you no longer available for in love? What boundary are you ready to hold? Not from fear, but from self-honor. And if this landed for you, subscribe. Not because you need more advice, but because your soul is ready for a new standard, because the love you want is possible. When you stop reaching down and start rising up, I'll be right here walking with you. You've got this, and I've got you.